Listen up, this is Brian Pond, and we are doing the Heroes, our faction tier list maker. Boom! Yes, I can words. And anyways, I've got some hot and spicy opinions for y'all. Got this set to 0, got things to go, and we're gonna start with the D tier and work our way up to the S tier. And starting in the D tier, I've repeated this repeatedly, LAMENT is the bottom tier. They are the single worst faction in the game, and I am not sorry to say it. Things on his own, and we're gonna go over why. So, the quite simple answer, the short answer is Trogs and Slave Pens. In a game where everything's relatively balanced pretty well, these boys, they hit hard, they die hard, and it really comes down to sturdy not working. When you only have 41 health, someone in the PvP meta doing a luck-based build or a knockback-based build is going to do enough damage to kill the Trogs, to making sturdiness trivial. They do a lot of damage though, so it confuses a lot of players who generally feel LAMENT's bad, and then they go see a pack of Trog berserkers and wonder why they get eaten. It's because they aren't bad units, they just don't do what you want these tier 1 units to do, which is be chump blockers. Then the blockers you do have, the Sidians and Gorgons are great. Petrification's powerful, they're chonky, and they've got the arrow protection at the tier 2. This is a unit that's great, and almost everyone gravitates toward. Leapy boys are decent, and if you're up against swarmy boys like deckhands or the undead, there's a argument to be made for the Trogs. So these units are fine. Nightmares are great because they have confusion and they do decent damage. Then we go back to the Gorgons. They have 205 health. They're sturdy. They do what the Trog Zerkers attempt to do. They might actually make it to ranged units, but their damage is just decent for that level, and retaliation, yeah, they attack faster after they're already taking damage, which is not the greatest thing in this game, because you don't want to just win a fight once, and that's what LAMENT is great at. They're great at winning one fight. And if you space it up, and you'll be good, and that's fine. There's also, if you're wanting to swarm bust, there are Trifilarious builds where you do the Lashing of Venom. That's decent. We've seen it in play, though. It doesn't really have the pushing power you think it would, and you end up just losing out because of it, even with the a build that focuses on them. And there's not really much to talk about Gold Drakes. In my opinion, they are just Golden Griffins, but worse. You have to upgrade them, and essentially they have to upgrade themselves through combat. But you're getting these guys at like week 5, week 6. It's just too late. And with their bad early game, it's not going to happen. In the 60 hours or so of play we've had with LAMENT on stream and off, we have yet to see a Black Dragon come out. The best we saw was when Sirius Cow King was able to get out red dragons and have a couple gold drakes for his LAMENT victory, the only recorded LAMENT victory we have. And that's it. Idle Shadows is great on offense, but in defense, you just can't use it because any seasoned PvP player is going to send one unit in to trigger it. Slave Pens does not give enough gold, and you don't have the unit supply to throw into the Slave Pens. Like, it's non-limit units, that's a big deal. You have to get them from somewhere, and you just, in the current meta, there's no reliable source of them, so it's not that great. And that's what I gotta say about that. Alright, next we have, up on the list, we're going to look at the bottom of the C tier. And of all these lovelies, it's going to be Wild. And this might be a controversial pick because Wild's not a bad faction, but they have major weaknesses. There's 2 ways you can build them, which is absolute anima spam, where you pick Forest Spirits, Satyr Minstrels, Bucks, Archdruids, and Ancient Treants, and you just have hundreds and hundreds of anima. The problem is, there's a lot of factions that eat on that. There's a lot of factions that can swarm bust, and they are considered encountered. There's the other build too where you focus on dead eyes and do a bunch of archery. Essentially, you get this boy here, crank up the archery, crank up luck, and obliterate things. It's a really good build. But there are problems here. Elemental Gate requires an ability called Overgrowth. Grizzly Dens requires you to leave anima behind. You don't want to leave your anima behind. It's you need them, especially in PvP. I've had FFAs before. I almost lost because I tried to use Grizzly Den, and well, the Horde almost ran over me because of it. And then Symbolic Grove, you need wood. Now, we're going to show something in game that really shows their weakness. So we're going to hit escape real quick. Pop over here. This is Overgrowth. These units right here, there's 50 anima, 20 dogs, 10 Confusey boys, and 2 treants. They're the lower tier ones. What this right here does is makes you a target. In free-for-all, going to attack wild is great because you can go and get extra experience and have several levels up on your way back there. Where almost every other faction in the game can clear an area and make it like a dead zone to go through, where you lose momentum if you go to attack them. The Overgrow boys do the opposite. This player was Craft Kraken. He did absolutely the right thing because let's see, backspace. Oh, backspace F. This game had Decay. So he had the choice between Overgrowing, which gives you like wood each day, and then the nerfed amount of the resource of the week. But he had to actively choose not to do it, because if he had chosen to do it, it would have fed Decay. The single worst matchup in the game is Decay versus Wild. And because of that massive weakness, and because of against Decay, and the weakness in general of feeding experience to the enemy, they are the bottom of the C list. Alright, next we're going to take a look at the top of the C list, because the C list is not very packed. And that's going to be our boys in the Order. And I adore Order. I haven't played enough with it, admittedly, but there are very visible issues. So we're going to go to the options we're going to go to the lexicon real quick. Look at our boys in the Order, and it's got strengths and weaknesses. Halberdiers are the tier 1 units we want in our life. They are just little beefy boys. Not quite as beefy as you would hope, but they're Halberdiers that they upgrade to have Protect. So, yeah, they're shielded from the first attack against it. That's huge. That means if they are hit by something like a Paladin, a Jouster, a Dragon, anything that hits them, they're going to be protected against once. They stand their ground a lot better. In addition to that, they get Arbalist, which is a great early combo to knock back and protect the Halberdiers. In addition to that, they have the Friars that can heal them, or the Knights that can protect them, and then the Halberdiers be used for flanking. Or the Dragon, they can be used for tanking, and the Dragon Slayers go in there to do it. Like, it's a very dynamic, well-rounded faction. Whereas their weaknesses, the Conscription Center and the Counting House are great savings plan. That it's a good thing to get gold each turn. Problem is we are in a payday economy where you want your gold and you want it now, not later. Not good decisions for the future, because games end in the first few weeks to the first month, and these usually end up not paying off better than doing the actions like getting a market and getting as big an army as you can. And their heroes all around are none too impressive. Really, the best you can do used to be Friar strategy, but that was nerfed. And that's a big problem with it. Like, this guy was kind of cool, but he was nerfed. And let's see. Right now, like, if the bodyguards give you Jousters, yeah. And Cavalry, this guy's probably one of the better ones synergy-wise. These heroes just don't really have the synergies they used to. But if you have Halberdiers and you're rallying them and you got this, you're doing better than Wild is. There we go. So now we're going to go Alt-Tab here, and we're going to go up to the B tier. Now we're starting to get to stuff that has bite. And in the B tier, we have our boys at the bottom of it, Tide. Tide, now the B tier, I believe, is meta. This you can take a bite out of people with these. So we'll go ahead and take a look at our boys in the Tide. Click the conch, respect it. First off, deckmates are one of the very few tier 1s that you can comfortably fight undead with, because they run away. And if they're running away and not getting eaten, they're not turning into zombies. So that you ideally want to attack the undead when they're mana down anyways, but they have a counter to that. Next, they have a tier 2 that's a Swarm Buster. Having wide attacks is great. Having wind up wide attacks is pretty good. Yeah, you'll be happy with having Blast Masters and Cannoneers. Jellyfish are savage Swarm Busters. Having Lash and Venom and all of this on a tier 3 is great. The Cultists are great Swarm Makers themselves. They have enough HP to stick around. They do Swarm Busting and Death Strikes. An unprepared player can get wiped by the Cultist and Ferryman. Tempests are alright. I really haven't seen Charm turn battles. I've seen it work, kinda, and it's just okay. Then you have the Capri, which are good Swarm Busters, and the Magmons, which no one ever picks. Then, of course, you have the Phoenixes, which are good, but I rarely see them picked. And they are a tier 6 that explodes, which I think is exciting, but yeah, it's hard to get. So, all around, solid picks. Where they really get weak is Pearl Shrine and Pearl Market suck. And these are two highly expensive buildings that are there. Also, Temple of Tides comes in at a time where it is incredibly powerful late game, but the time you're starting to use it, it's too late to use ships to explore because you're usually getting it week 2, day 5 at the earliest, and at about that point, most PvP players are squaring up to fight. So Tempest of Tides tends to be too late too often, and you need to be doing anything else but hunting pearls. That's why they are lower on the tier. But what makes them great, of course, is Siren Song. Getting good units in Siren Song, you can snap through and almost guarantee that you can clear your start zone and have a strong setup in the weak zone. They are capable of pushing almost as hard as the best of them because of that. And if you get multiple Siren Songs, even better. All right, so I think that wraps up Tide. And now, next on the B tier, we are going to go with Earthen. Earthen are the boys. They're really good. They're really good. They are definitely I think it's safe to put them in the middle of the B tier. And boom, there is a good reason why. Let's see. They are, let's hop on over to them. 1, they're the newest faction, so they got some of the coolest art. 2, they have Runeforge, which gives you some really powerful abilities, and Carvers are a bit weird. Again, they have the Sturdiness Curse, which really doesn't do much for relatively low health units. They also have Knockback. Yeah, and knockbacking with them is arguable, but they have Bear Guards, which I used in tournament to clear my Zone 1. Bear Guards are an S tier unit, and then they have Enchanters, which are another S tier unit. They also have Caribou Elites, which used to be an S tier unit, but they nerfed my hero. Or did they? Is this the old version? Yeah, but yeah, they did. They put Blood Warping down here. Creation's okay, but Blood Warping's too late. Anything in row 4 does not exist in the meta, in my opinion, because by the time your hero reaches level 9, you'll want to have already had your abilities such as Blood Warping or Creation working. So could this still be a build? Yeah, but the Caribou Elite strategy that on this channel no longer exists. There we go. So overall, I think they're solid. What is their weakness? Monument of War and Temple of War are a great building after you have purchased every single other building in the tower. They're essentially additional unit buildings, but you'll want all the other unit buildings first. So they come in way too late to matter. And then lastly, Grudge and Soul of the Earth only work on Dwarven units, and that's a huge weakness, especially in the latest updates with the side neutral heroes and things like that. They just really lack synergy to put them in the top tier. And that's really what holds some of these powerful factions that can win in tournament into the B tier. All right. Now we'll take another look at our lovely tier list. We're going to take a look at the next on the tier list. And I will be shouting out at another YouTube. Fresh Jory is an amazing player, but there are just other factions that I feel can overpower his pick, Horde. I think Horde is a solid B tier, and I think it is the pinnacle of the B tier. I would almost put it in an A tier and I'll put it in the reasons why. It's the borderliner, and I could definitely be convinced otherwise. Let's see. So there are major positives, major negatives. One, it's a lot of their builds. Almost everyone was going to pick this hero. The problem is he used to have access to combat early, and he no longer does so. So and it comes down to it. Like the Voodoo Boys, their weakness is that they have to fight in combat to upgrade their people, and it's also a good strength economy-wise. But Sky Pillars comes in too late. You don't really worry about getting some extra elementals and +1 luck. Nomad Hall is great. You get a cheap hero for 1,000 that you can go do things for you. That's great. Banner of Champion, it's a strength and a weakness, because as you're buying your week 2, week 3, week 4 units, you're buying units that are unupgraded to go upgrade them in combat. That's a vulnerability. That's what keeps them out of the A tier. What they're really great at is that they have the goblins with leap, so they can get over walls. They have the harpies / furies that can fly over the walls. They have the centaurs / horseman nomads that are really fast, can kite, and can shoot over the walls. Shoot over the walls and jump over the walls. So as far as their big thing is, and Fresh Jory can definitely show, they can zoop right through a fort. Like they are the best counter tech in the game against forts specifically, which is amazing in PvP because it allows you into the second zones and third zones quicker than the opponent, where you can go pick up an ultimate weapon, have your upgraded army that you jungled with, and run them over. So that's what they're really, really excel at. If there's better builds, I need to see them, because obviously having archery on hers, probably fantastic. Yeah, I'm sure the troll build is at least passing. The problem is they got rid of her blood warping, which really hurts, but yeah, that's probably a good build, but I think it's a B tier build, not A tier. And if any of you lovely Horde players want to prove me wrong, we can PvP together. There we go. And now next we're going to the A tier. These are the best in the game. These are the ones, and the current version of the game. And you will see constantly. At the bottom of the A tier, we have Decay. And of course, it is a very spiffing, lovely faction, and it is still very powerful. Calling it A tier is absolutely not an insult. These are tournament winners. These are the best of the best. And with that in mind, we are going to hop over here and look at the Necropolis. Why are they great? They're weenies. While almost categorically all of these heroes are much weaker than the other factions, and that's because Malediction and Bane allows you to get units on demand. What knocked these guys in previous versions, and even in 1.65, for which the tournament recently was played on, and it's currently being played on at time of video. Yep, just confirm that. They got weaker units, but they get units on demand through Malediction and Bane. They also have the Soul Biction and Soul Transmuter and Tome of Silence, which essentially replaces your medical, so it's pretty dang good. It gives you your access to your range units. You'll notice only the Liches are ranged here. That's because you're going to be getting your Bone Shooters, which are range units with slow, which makes them really powerful, from your Soul Beacon. And from your and from your Throne of the Dead, which isn't featured here. They're all very powerful. The big problems they're suffering from that dropped them from S tier is Necromancy got nerfed. You no longer use it as regeneration, but better. And these units are categorically just weaker. I've had PvP after PvP after PvP match where the Decay players are looking crazy, but then when you show up with just stronger units and more throughput, they collapse like a pile of bones. So, and that's what I gotta say about that. So you heard it here first. Shaboom. Bottom of the A tier Decay. Now next, middle of the A tier, PYRE. PYRE is absolutely fire. They belong on the A tier, and I don't want to hear otherwise, because just everything they have is good. Grotesques, they suffer from having sturdy and retaliation, so they're kind of garbo, but there's a mastery build, or there used to be, yeah. So there you can build around them, kinda. Asterisks, there used to be a build around them, so that's probably why they're still A tier. Sorry, they just updated the new heroes, so that might affect my future list. So Grotesque, they suffer from not being that great, except for a fringe build that's no longer in the game. So Grotesque, not very good. So, but Flame Fiends are amazing. Ranging and burning, comboing together is super powerful. The Lava Beast with their 68 health and their lashing is great. Hell Spawns, leaping and burning are great. If you want to push hard, they're powerful. Sturdy and summoning, these guys cause sulfur, so they are absolutely terrible. We got Charmy Boys. Let's see. These were the ones to pick because they costed Mercury. They no longer are, so it's now the Fly Boys. And Archdemons are absolutely powerful and will tear up an army. So they have pretty much S tier. They have S tier units here, and here. And they have the Infernal Gate, which allows you to summon things. And Talia has had a real time trying to make it less overpowered. It is super powerful. Stocks powerful like that. They have Chamber of Rituals, which allows you to level up your people, which is the best economy you can have in the game, because what you do is you grab a hero, look at their talent tree, use Chamber of Rituals to purchase the hero, and get the economy on them. It makes you more money than Counting House, Slave Pens, Conscriptory, or any of the other economy buildings can hope to, except for Market. And of course, Everburning Flame, you need Sulfur, that's whatever. Overall, they are a strong A tier faction. People will win games with them. People will win tournaments with them, just because of all the amazing things they have. Oh, and on top of all of this, they have their fire trapping and fire gating. Teleport spells are super powerful, especially when you're messing with people's units. And they have the ability to portal between nodes that they own, the resource ones, giving them the best travel in the game, making them even more powerful than other movement upgrading abilities like the Hostler. So A tier, PYRE just keeps winning. Now, last on the A tier, we have Enclave. And Enclave is not just good, they are insanely good. Like, they are the top of the A tier. There is only one faction more powerful than them, and deservedly so. So we go to these boys, and first off, they look amazing. I love the art updates. Second off, they just get tons of units. They have the best A tier in the game. This does what you want out of a tier 1. It's got 60 stinking health. It leeches life to stay alive. It sits there, and then it protects Swamp Arrows, which are an S tier unit. They have Venom and Arrow Rain. And I don't think anybody is going to say Swamp Arrows are weak, and if you are, you're either just wrong or trolling. It sucks to be you. Then they kind of break down. Petrify and Charge is a weird combo. Terrify and stuff like that. My most success has been getting these two together. Hex. The problem with our Hexy boys is they're like, if you drop Hex on an anima, you upgraded them. You end up healing units. That needs to be looking at. This should be your Swarm Buster. It's not a Swarm Buster. It has wide attacks. It just does two different things. Go with your Legionnaires. They only have 70 health, but they Terrify and Leap. That they're going to die if you get them, but that's okay. Your units aren't here for a long time. They're here for a good time. Usually games end before you get into these higher units. So you'll notice that my knowledge of them are very low. Definitely pick the Hierophants over the monsters, though. These guys kind of suck, even with their good health. And the Rexes are fine. They have charge and knockback. The biggest thing holding them back is they aren't Holy Griffins. They don't fly, so they're probably they're F tier. They've got the Slytherin Temple, which gets you the Griffin. The problem with them is it costs artifacts, so you have to have them. And if you're going with the current meta strat, you're probably getting animal taming so that you can get a, as I did earlier today, you're probably going to be going for animal taming so that you can have like 2 griffins or 50 spooters or whatever other ridiculous animals you can get to absolutely just go collect your victory from the enemy. That's why they are the top of the A tier. Just great all around. All right, and last but certainly not least, in a league of their own, Arcane is S tier. They are insurmountably powerful. The most powerful faction in the game by a wide margin. Arcane makes all of the B tier and lower look as bad as Lament looks compared to all the other factions. And we'll go over exactly why now. 1, they have Arcane Spires, so every battle they have a free spell, which is amazing. 2nd, they have the Ziggurat, and it goes online fast enough at the time you need it. It completely fills your mana bar when you go touch it, and it gives you mana on the go when you finally want to mount your offense. Then they have the Aether Forge, and the Aether Forge is blisteringly overpowered. You can use either of these to go jungle through and fight, and you use the fights you get to get yourself more ore or more Aethermancy points to get units and spells. And these spells are like the 7-day ultimate spells. Like you can get Town Teleport, you can get Conflag, you can get plus 20 spell power, you can get Conflux, which summons in a bunch of elementals, and through a combination of having your artisans and ore, you can then dump your market with no restrictions to dump all your money into ore, into the Aether Forge, and have just insurmountable power against your enemy. In addition to that, they're the only faction in the game with easy access to tier 1 range units. I believe sharpshooters may be as well, but these bad boys have quick strikes and ranged attack, so they're not likely to die. Now, the gating that caused them trouble in previous parts was these 2 units cost ore, and you need ore for other things. So that's admittedly not great, but they're still great units, still worth purchasing with ore, especially in the early game, to get. Cryomancers have 22 freaking health. They don't exist. Just pretend just pretend you didn't see these, and instead go for the automations. Battle mages, they cast spells, they telewarp. These are amazing units with good health. Definitely get them. They'll soften things down so that the guards pick them off, and the Stonewatchers start picking them up and dropping them. It's disgusting. Sultans are amazing. Demigods and Line Gods are amazing. So basically, every single one of these units are amazing, except for Cryomancers. And they can combo their entire economy, funnel it through with alchemy to Aetherforge to get an army that the undead wish they could have. That Spiffing Brit should probably take a look at and feature because of just how insanely overpowered it is. And will it probably need a nerfing? Yes, but don't tell things on his own that just cut off the video. This is a prank. Yeah, and that's the thing. Between the juiced up spells, the unlimited combo, the constantly being able to fill your bars up, and royalty and battle there, and all these amazing units, Arcane takes the S tier in the current Heroes Hour meta. I'm Brian Pond. I love you all. Thank you again to Mesignosis for providing these wonderful image tiles. I will see y'all next time, and let me know what y'all feel down in the comments below.